Welcome to another episode of last week's Comics Today. I'm going to try to be quick this morning. Time is definitely a factor, but we are going to start with Mouse Guard. It's been a long time coming. I was a huge fan of Mouse Guard back in the day, and Peterson hasn't. He's been doing a bunch, but puzzles and games and things. But the main comic of Mouse Guard has been on hiatus for a number of years at this point, and so they announced that Gabriel Rodriguez was doing the art, and I'm like, fantastic, I'm on board, because honestly I'm a big fan of Gabriel Rodriguez as well, primarily from Lock and Key, and I think he's a good fit. He's not Peterson, but just an excellent fit, a phenomenal artist in his own right, and I still enjoy the hell out of Mouse Guard. Is ultimately the end result. But this is about the Black Axe. This is the first wielder of the Black Axe, sort of how the Black Axe comes to be and why, and it's great. And if you don't want to read this in single issue form, I'm sure there's going to be a hardcover collection coming. You can just hang out. I think this is supposed to be just a 3-issue series, but you can wait for it to be collected, and I'll slot it on the shelf next to my others once that's done, because I enjoyed the hell out of this already. I'm already recommending grabbing the hardcover once it's concluded. We're taking everyone down with us. This is the first issue of a new series, and I was pretty surprised by the direction this took. So these were the preview pages. These opening pages were released as preview pages, and it's this girl playing hide and seek with some robots, and she gets caught, and there are multiple robots. She does hit one, I think, crucially in the head with this stone. I think that's going to play possibly a major factor going forward. But there's a girl, there's a father who is fairly absentee, and there are multiple robots. And based on that, I said, yes, I would like to know more, and I grabbed the first issue. So, what I was surprised by is what the father is up to. So he's this scientist, and there's this guy who is assisting him, and he's not great at being a father, end result. And he decides to allow himself, really, to play hide and seek with his daughter, and she goes into this room where she's not allowed. She thinks it's going to be a great hiding spot, and what she finds there is this guy. And I'm like, oh, yikes. And then there's definitely some fallout from that. We see sort of flashbacks where that guy came from. We see what happens next, which I will tell you is this. This, if you can't tell, is an explosion. So that's kind of how the series goes out. Well, the issue goes out. And there is something else that happens after that, and I'm not going to show you that, but really pretty wild. I'm not sure whether I'm going to continue. Rosenberg is a pretty big deal, but he hasn't really caught on with me that well, and so I don't know. I don't know if this was enough to get me to read more. I'm certainly curious about where it goes, but I don't know if I'm curious enough, is the end result. Minor Threats, The Brood, issue 4. This is the end of the miniseries, and I was curious to see how this ended, because each issue, the first issue focused on the father of the family, and then the 3 subsequent issues focus on his children, and I wasn't sure the overall story was going to get enough movement, given that we needed to focus on his 3rd child this issue, and it honestly does. It does wrap up pretty well. I'm going to say it wraps up very well, and I have the first Minor Threats collection. I'm contemplating grabbing this one as well, because I overall enjoyed it very much, and it kind of leaves the door, but this isn't the only one that happens to be the end and possibly a continuation, so I'm curious to see if this continues, and if it does, I'm probably going to get that too, because I'm very curious about what the Brood set up this family in particular, and based on how this ends, where it could potentially go next. So yes, I'm recommending this as well. Again, there should be a trade collection in, I'm just going to guess, a couple of months. But if you're curious, you can grab this. You can grab the single issues as well. After what I believe to be a short hiatus, Falling in Love on the Path to Hell is back. And this is probably getting pick of the week. I have to remember what else is in the stack. But we get these two, and really her in particular, she's so phenomenal this issue. She says so little, but what she does says is always hilarious in response to what the cowboy says, and really the volume of his words versus hers. It's just really well written. But they are in this field fighting some kind of vampire things, and meanwhile there's this other plotline going on. So Rohan is this guy here who is not a fan of the cowboy and lady samurai. And we run into this guy again, who get a bit of history on him as well, and his people and the trees. And it's a lot of story, it's a lot of action, and it's just really well executed at every level. Phenomenal art, great story. If it's not pick of the week, it's definitely in contention, and I will bring that up again at the end of the video. TMNT Naruto issue 3, this is of 4. And I think this is showing cracks. So most of this issue is honestly, I'll get to it. I'll show you in a second. So it's kind of Shredder versus his own mutated ninjas versus, what did I just say? Did I say Shredder versus? It's Shredder and his own mutations versus Naruto and the Ninja Turtles. It's these kind of guys here, which are just like, I don't know, kind of Power Ranger themed foot soldiers. It's really just pair-ups. So it's 2-on-1, and it's a lot of talking, and it's kind of these like one-page fight scenes, and it's just very little happens, and it's kind of quippy. And then we get Shredder, and so I think next issue is going to be awesome, but this one just is very by the numbers. It's fine. It looks great. Writing wise, subpar. Wolverine Revenge issue, what is this, 5? It's regardless, it's the end of the series, and I don't really know what to say about this. It's interesting, I will say, but also kind of a letdown. I thought something different was going to happen. Really, I've been surprised by this since issue, I'm going to say 2. Really, issue 1 as well. But issue 1 is Wolverine and company going off to fight a group of people after a first surprising things happens, and then by the end of the issue, they are dead, Wolverine is alive, and there's a new status quo for the planet in general. And then the rest of the series is revenge. But that revenge happens more quickly than I expected. By the end of issue 3, he's gotten his revenge, and then issues 4 and 5 are really revenge perpetrated against Wolverine for the things that he's done. And so that is what wraps up here, and it's fine. It's a long way to go to make a statement about revenge and the emptiness of that. And we get, this is the red band version, so we get some stuff like this going on. And there are some cool moments, but ultimately it's pretty hollow, and I don't actually recommend getting this. It's fine, ultimately. And it's kind of a letdown for both Hickman and Capullo. If they wanted to make sort of a thesis statement on the nature of revenge, I think they could have done a better job. They could have used someone other than Wolverine to tell a story. And yeah, that's about all some cool moments that are ultimately just, the pieces are less than the whole. How does that saying go? I'm moving on. G.I. Joe issue 5. This one actually came out the week prior, and I didn't grab it But it was great. I really enjoyed this. So at this point, it starts with the Joe team captured by Destro, really, because I'm going to say Cobra as an organization is fractured. We've got Cobra Commander doing his thing. He's perfectly fine leaving Destro to deal with his own mess, and it's pretty great. So Joe's pull off what they need to pull off. There's this great 2-page sequence. Loves all of this. And it ends, I will spoil the last page in this case, but there's this brainwave device which I thought was going to be used one way, and that's not what happened, and I'm fully on board. But this is the meeting, the first meeting in this universe of Duke and Cobra Commander. And I'm very curious to see what happens next. But at least I think the Joes are finally, like, not quite on equal footing yet, because I don't know if they wound up stealing before they left some energon weapons. Hopefully, so that they can, what's the word I'm looking for? Reverse engineer the weaponry and have their own, and then at least be on par with, even if they don't have really the manpower to go up against Cobra yet, because Cobra's already a massive organization and Joe's a pretty small team. I think all of them are on this cover. This is the Carl Kerschel cover, which I wanted, which is why I didn't get it last week. Anyway, I'm still buying this one issue at a time. I'm not fully subscribed to it, honestly, but I'm in for issue 6 because I want to see how that ends. 6 should end the first arc, and really I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more than I have enjoyed G.I. Joe. Like, I'm not a G.I. Joe guy to begin with, but this is a lot of fun. It's a global scale kind of conspiracy-ish, because they are both, I'm going to say, pretty private organizations. There's a war being waged, and it's kind of in secret, and it's interesting, and I'm enjoying that aspect, and all of the characters are well executed. It's well done. It's good stuff. Our Brilliant Ruin issue 1. I don't know anything about Our Brilliant Ruin. It seemed like it was a pre-existing IP. I did some Googling. I learned that it is, and then I stopped there. I didn't learn anything else about it. So, Horror at Crane Mansion. I don't know if these are characters that already exist in the world, and we're just seeing their story for the... I have no idea what's happening. So, I know very little, but I am pretty interested, I think, in where this is going. I figured out it was going to be a whodunit about halfway through, because I'm like, they're introducing all of these characters, and one of them, I'm not sure which yet, is going to wind up dead. I'm sure of it. And then it's going to be a big reveal and an investigation. This is only a 3-issue series, and I'm thinking about grabbing the other 2 just out of pure curiosity, and also I'm a fan of Chris Mitten. I'll tell you how I read this. So you can see the number of words just here on the first page. I read this basically each page twice. I'd go through and I'd read all of the words in order, of course, right? And then I'd go back to the beginning and just look at the art, because I'm a longtime Chris Mitten fan, and this is some great work by him. So their previous collaboration was The Autumn Kingdom from Bunn and Mitten, and that is being continued at some point, but first we have this miniseries, which, again, I believe is 3 issues, and it's kind of a turn of the 20th century high society, but it's kind of a Watson and Holmes thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. So, I'll say this. I'll spend a couple extra moments lingering on this. These are our leads, particularly her, and she does most of the talking. To her, she's kind of the Watson stand-in, so that she has someone to be brilliant against. And I don't understand their relationship. I would like to know more about that, like what she is, like her backstory in particular, why she's working for her, and what's going on there. But other than that, it's a well-executed setup for a mystery investigation that's about to come, and I'll show you, I think it's the last page of this as well. So somebody dies, like I said, and I won't show their head, but you can guess it's maybe a guy here, and it looks like those are supposed to be ribs, but they're lower than they should be, so I don't know. I don't fully know, but that's how it ends. And it's off to a good start, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get the next 2 issues as well. Seasons issue 3, I think I'm going to spend my time talking not so much about the issue itself, but sort of a conversation that I started with Berg about comics in general. And I'll say this. So I have a baseline fear of missing out just ingrained in me. And so how that manifests is I buy more stuff than I really need or technically want, in the hopes that I will someday get around to doing something with it. So there's definitely a hoarding aspect. I think it's based in sort of fear of missing out, if not based on, it's certainly a component of that. And so Black Science, which I shot a video for Black Science. I finished reading it a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't edited it, so you definitely haven't seen the video yet, but I talked for a long time about Black Science. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I had originally tried it out and then dropped the title. So I come back to it 10-ish years later, and I'm like, this is great. And at the same time, it makes me question a bunch of other stuff that I have not followed through on, such as Seven to Eternity and Low, both from Remender. And I'm like, I started both of those, and I wasn't enjoying it enough to continue. And yet I talk about Remender being my favorite writer, and like, should I go back and try those as well? And so now, like, the fear of missing out is a little bit more amped up because of Black Science. And that brings me to the seasons, which I'm hoping turns into something. And I wasn't too enthused by the first issue in particular, and the second issue, it's really these small scenes that aren't about our main character where I get the most interest. And this sets up an interesting story element. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but this ends in such a way where I'm more interested to grab the next issue for the first time, really. Because our lead is about to be packed off to a boarding school. This issue in particular is a lot of family drama, which I'm a huge fan of. And that family drama is very well executed. I enjoyed this one more than the other 2, and this is another series that I'm getting 1 issue at a time. I will, yes, I'm deciding now that I'm going to get issue 4 as well. But I'm deciding on an issue-by-issue basis whether or not I'm going to keep going. And this being the best I'm saying of the series so far, I'll get issue 4 and see what happens then. Standstill, issue 8. This is the end of the series, ? So this was always an 8-issue series, but we get to the actual ending, and it says the end ? Because there's the end of the story that has been told thus far, and then there's a little bit extra tacked down to the end, and I'm like, what are you doing here? All you had to do was stick to the landing. Anyway, it's just like those movies that throw in a sequel tease right at the end, even though they're terrible, and that sequel is never going to happen. This is not terrible. It is honestly satisfying to a degree that I was not sure they were going to pull off, because there is really, this is the main conflict that has been going for the last couple of issues. So this guy and this guy are now in the same room and having a knife fight. He gets stabbed to the wall, he gets stabbed in the hand, he gets stabbed repeatedly, and then there's reciprocal stabbing, and then there's a chase, and there's a chase involving time stoppage. I was about to say time travel, but that's not what's happening. And it's just so well done. It's very well done. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think I would have enjoyed the series overall more if the whole thing had been drawn by Andrew Robinson, and I don't really understand the art switch. But it's great. It's great. if you are curious, I will recommend grabbing this. And like, he's just bleeding for the rest of the issue. I don't know how he's upright, really, honestly, but it's great, and it ends in a satisfying way, and then you get a little bit more, and if that continues, great. I will very likely grab that as well. But yeah, just curious ending. Lastly, there is Minor Arcana Volume 1, and I'm switching Minor Arcana from the single issues. I'm going trades, because I don't think enough happens on an issue-by-issue basis that I'm satisfied on a monthly basis to continue getting it as single issues, and I would like to read it as just larger chunks. Now, I did grab a couple of other things that I'm going to save for next week, because I just... yeah, I'm getting very little in the way of comics next week, so I'm just going to save those for next time. All Brilliant Ruin was great. Standstill is great. G.I. Joe didn't come out this week, but it was great. And then there is this stuff, and I'm declaring that yes, Falling in Love on the Path to Hell is pick of the week. If you're curious, I'm going to recommend grabbing We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. I don't fully know what that means. Is that... I think I have an idea what that means, but I don't know. But Black Axe is off to a great start, and that's great news too. I was minorly concerned that maybe, someone would have missed a step, but that's not the case. So, Falling in Love on the Path to Hell is pick of the week, and I do believe that's everything that I got this week. As always, I get my books from a local comic shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thanks for watching.